Hello, everyone, and welcome everybody to episode 2 of season 2 of What If? What if Peter Quill attacked Earth's mightiest heroes? This is a fun episode, Andre. I enjoyed this one. I enjoyed it a lot more than I did the first one, and even though I enjoyed the first one, you did not.
I didn't not like it was fine. It was there. It's not one I'm gonna rewatch when I go back and rewatch stuff.
No.
It's one of those ones I'll skip because again it was just like but this one I had so much fun with this one.
30 minutes, and it felt like there was about 70 minutes worth of stuff in here.
Yeah.
So set the stage like I did yesterday. Everything in the MCU has played up exactly how it's supposed to until the day Peter Quill is taken from the Earth by Yondu. Mm-hmm. In this universe, Yondu is the dick he always was and went ahead and brought Peter Quill to Ego. Mm-hmm. Ego destroys the Walkman and turns Quill into, a version of him.
The Walkman. Oh, it's like, oh no, that's his life force.
As I mentioned yesterday, as we heard from Jessica Clemens from New Rockstars, all of these episodes are kind of 80s themed this season. The writers have apparently made a very big point that everything is going to be kind of 80s stuff. And of course, in this episode, we're taken back to the 1980s, in 1988 to be specific. Mm-hmm. And we've got music from the 80s and we've got clothes from the 80s, and it's cool. Peter arrives in the same place that the Avengers took on the Chitauri from the first Avengers movie. Mm-hmm. He crash lands right outside Grand Central Station. We have Peggy Carter and Howard Stark both alive and well, both played by John Slattery and Haley Atwell. Oh, I love when I have Haley Atwell in my mar-vel. It's always a good day.
Love her. And this isn't the only episode we're gonna get her in too, because boom, we're getting some Captain Carter later on.
Yeah. So in this episode, they decide to form an Avengers team to go ahead and try to take out Peter Quill. Mm. And in this timeline, in this time frame, that Avengers team is made up from Hank Pym, who is a year out of losing his wife, who still cannot perfectly connect with his daughter as he tries to offer her a bowl of cereals with some potato chips in it for vegetables, because potatoes are vegetable. My kind of dad right there. Potato chips are vegetables because potatoes are. Love you.
Me as a kid, would go, what?
just like Hope did. Mm-hmm. We also have in this Goliath, played by Lawrence Fishburne, reverping Goliath.
Larry Fishburne. Yeah.
By the way, this is the time frame where Project Goliath is going on, where they're working with Star, Pym, and Lawrence Fishburne's character are all Bill Foster are all working together. Mm-hmm. This is right before Star will leave and we'll get Ghost and we'll start that portion of the storyline, at least in the normal MCU. Maybe not in this universe. But if everything proceeds the same way, that's what we'll see going forward, which is really fun and interesting to see these characters at this specific moment. Mm-hmm. We also get King T'Chaka. Oh, I thought when I saw these episodes before, I thought it was going to be a recast of T'Challa, and I was a little bit iffy on him. Finding out it is straight T'Chaka made it a lot more okay. Thatch and all, right from the beginning of Black Panther, the flashback scenes, it's the exact same outfit he was wearing, with the exception of in What If his beads around his neck are silver.
Mhm.
And in the original movie, they were gold.
Yeah. Well, also in the original movie, it's actually what 94
Yep.
when we see that Black
90,
Panther just
yeah, 94.
so he hasn't evolved to his gold beads yet.
Yeah.
Really.
Also, I didn't mention this, but when we see Howard Stark, this is 3 years from, and we'll mention it now, because it's 3 months from the next member of the team killing him. The Russians, in the middle of the Cold War, have sent us the Winter Soldier to make sure that this child does not make it anywhere near the Russian borders.
And like Peggy and Howard's reactions to him, going like, he looks just like Bucky. It's Bucky, and like just to see the reactions to it was awesome.
Yeah, I love the idea that they knew like right away. They know that he's Bucky.
Well, they see the face. They're like, oh shit, that's Buck. Yeah.
Remember, it took Steve a little bit of seeing the Winter Soldier. He didn't recognize it the first time he sees him. It takes him to being on the ship to realize that it's Bucky.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, to round out this team, we get Wendy Lawson. Wendy Lawson from Project Pegasus, working in the Mojave Desert. mar-vel. This is before we have built. This is the prototype to the Lightspeed engine prototype that they're building that will take place in the Captain Marvel movie in a few years.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, Nick Fury is working for Project Pegasus.
Yeah, I love all the little like pulls into the history that they have established. I love it. I love it so much.
And of course, nothing is exactly the way it was, but like I like the fact that we get these similarities to the things we already know. These characters feel like people we knew. And the fact that they got everybody to voice their original characters, with the exception of Hope and Peter, which obviously they weren't going to get the adult actors, they had to get children actors to take on those roles. But Ego is played by
Kurt Russell.
Michael Douglas plays Hank Pym. Sebastian Stan is back once again as Bucky Barnes, collecting that Marvel paycheck over and over and over again.
Keep paying him. Keep paying that guy. He's so good.
Do you think they just give him like a big truckload of money and they just say, when we call, you're going to come?
Yeah, I think that's what you do at this point with Sebastian Stan. The guy, he's so good on screen and in the voice. He's so goddamn. Just back a truckload of money upside. We'll call you when we need you.
And the funny thing is, like, we're talking about all of this. This stuff is really the best part of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's nothing fantastic about the stuff that happens. It's about the feeling of nostalgia of seeing all these characters for me, it's seeing all these characters together doing the thing, trying to go ahead and use their abilities to convince Peter Quill at Coney Island to not blow up the world. But after they fail, they're getting ready to retreat. But who shows up? Chris Hemsworth as Thor.
Mm-hmm.
I did not see that coming.
No, I really didn't see Thor being involved in this. But the lightning, and I was like, yeah, let's do this. Thor. I was expecting Odin, actually. Yep. I was expecting Odin to stand, but again, really, Thor's 5,000 years old. So I'm like, okay, makes sense. He was still rolling to the Odin or to the Midgar every now and again. So
you got to also remember at this, and as Thor explains, Peter's been working his way through the 9 realms, and Earth's the only one left. Valheim is gone. Asgard is gone. They're all destroyed.
So Peter Quill is Ragnarok?
No Ragnarok in this universe.
No, Peter Quill is Ragnarok. He destroyed Asgard.
Although he's not the forces of Ragnarok, which is something that Doctor Who talked about in the Doctor Who episode 3, but we'll get to that another day. Because
I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. Don't spoil that for me. I'm not there yet.
It's just a line. Don't worry. Oh. No, this episode was fantastic. They regroup to try to figure out what to do, and Thor shows them the little plant thing that he found in Missouri.
Well, no, because they captured the kid. Like, Thor knocks him out, right? And they contain him. But
yes, but
yeah,
they're all still regrouping at the Pegasus base when Thor shows them the flower.
Mhm.
And then we get the most Peter Quill scene without Peter Quill, as we see Hope Van Dyne dancing her way Peter Quill style. And the best part is you get the view from Peter Quill from inside the little pod that they held Loki in the Avengers, watching her dancing without the music. And you get that moment where Peter Quill sees what Peter Quill's going to be in like 10 years. Yes. Oh, like I said, this is why What If is fantastic.
Oh, so
Because you
good.
take the things you've built in the MCU, you put a tiny spin on it, and you have something that's going to entertain us. And like I said, a half an hour. They're in, they're out, they're done.
Just like our episodes.
Then they get to the most problematic portion of the episode for me, the battle with Ego. I didn't like this. I'll be honest. Like, there's some great visual effects done here, and the animation team goes to town, and all hands on deck for that animation team, because the visual effects and the animation work done here in this battle is absolutely sensational. That being said, from a storytelling perspective, I thought the battle was a bunch of poo.
Yeah, it was almost not needed. You could have just had it all happen off screen, while because again, like Hope had let Peter escape, so so they have to go to Missouri to get him back because he got to his mother's grave, right? So yeah, I much prefer the Peter stuff here, like just getting Peter to come back to fight his dad.
And I like the idea that they show us the battle, but I just felt like there was so much the battle, and I wish I would have had a little bit more of the graveside.
Yeah, me too.
Because the awesome part about the gravesite scene that you referenced, and I really want to get into this, is you have Hank Pym, a year out from losing his wife. And you have this child who's not able to understand and grieve his mother's death. Because as soon as she died, he got whisked away to live with his alien father who didn't give a shit. On top of this, if that's not all enough with these two trying to connect and Hank trying to get through to this child and deal with his own grief and try to get this child to do the same, you have Hope listening on the other end. And she's hearing her father's heartbreak over her mother's death, which she's not even over yet. Because remember, it took him 2 weeks to speak to her after her death in the original MCU timeline. And he still, as you saw, had issues with her, them being able to deal with it. Hell, she stole his key card to go dancing around the entire facility. But the other side, the third side of this is, you have that thing between Peter and Hank. You have Hope listening in. And then you have Bucky Barnes, led by his Hydra and Russian leaders, who are telling him to shoot Peter Quill dead.
I have the name, Valisy Karpov.
Just the most fantastical Russian name of all Russian names.
Yep.
But I love the idea that they're willing to do this in an animated show on the MCU where they have a trained killer pointing a sniper rifle at a child.
Yeah, it's dark as fuck.
But mind you, it's not the worst idea, because if this child, we've seen what this child can do. He blew up portions of Coney Island with the snap of his fingers, just by using his hands. He's blowing stuff up. He threw cop cars like Magneto did in the original original X-Men movie. Like, this Peter Quill isn't a young, innocent child. Now, does he deserve to die? No. But you can understand where people might, whether you have the allowance to have the sniper rifle pointed at the child and have it make sense for the story. But you get this ever-loving, fantastic moment here where you have three stories being told at once. So we've covered Hank and Peter, Hope listening to Hank as he's dealing with this grief, and now she is as well. And we have Howard Stark going ahead and cutting in on the Russians' audio with Bucky, and he's calling him Bucky and talking to him as if he knew him, because they would have known each other back in the day when they were working with Captain America. We never see it really, but you would imagine that when Cap goes down, the Howling Commandos, we know, continue doing great work for the U.S. military. Howard would have still continued being part of that team. So Howard and Bucky would absolutely have a deep connection to each other.
Yeah, well, Bucky did go down the way, but again, Howard was there making stuff for them and helping, flying them into areas. So, like, yeah.
You're right. I'm sorry, Bucky does go down at that point.
Yeah,
he would never.
But he was involved with them throughout the movie, though.
Yeah, they know each other enough where they have a connection, because he continues calling him Bucky. He uses Steve to get through to him, and Bucky doesn't shoot Peter Quill. It's just fantastic. It's utterly fantastic. Andre, what are some of the things that we haven't talked about in this that you've noticed the most about this episode?
Again, it's just I love the heart it gives, especially at the graveside scene. It's so to see how Hank is truly mourning and everything. It's just beautiful to watch, and to have him be able to, and then having Haley Atwell, Hope, like going close to her father by just listening to him speak, which he never would have done to her, was probably the biggest point for me in this entire episode. That it kind of like fixes the relationship so early, right? Like,
yeah.
The
one thing I'll bring into this now, because I didn't see it until I listened to Jessica Clemens's review of the episode, but the makers talked about how every episode kind of follows portions of their favorite 80s movies. We know in the first episode it was Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner movie in 1982. In this one, Jessica puts it out there, and I'll say I think she's right. It's E.T. It's just Peter Quill trying to come home. It's E.T. in reverse.
Yeah.
Because it really is. Because he says in this episode a couple times, I'm trying to go home. I'm trying to go home. He was just trying to get back to Missouri. He was just trying to get back home. It's kind of like an E.T. in reverse.
Makes
now, granted, it doesn't follow as closely. Like, they didn't use the E.T. model like they used the Blade Runner model in episode 1. And it's nice to see that it's going to be different episode to episode. Not every episode is going to be like pick and parcel from a movie. But there's going to be themes along the lines of the entire episode.
Yeah.
The episode ends with Wendy Lawson using the Lightspeed engine to get Peter Quill right to the area where they need to, outside of Project Pegasus in the Mojave Desert. At this point, Ego has taken back the plant to get ready to destroy the Earth. Peter steals it back, and he has a heart-to-heart with his dad.
Find out his dad killed his mom.
Again. this Peter Quill has no luck with his dad being a good guy in any universe.
Not even slightly.
What I'm surprised about, though, I went into this episode expecting to have this be a portion of a takeoff from season 1. And this is a completely different universe, which I was happily surprised by.
I'm perfectly fine with this. What if is all like, if you read the comics, self-contained stories about what could happen in Marvel. I just like it as these self-contained stories.
I just thought when we were talking Peter Quill attacks Earth's mightiest heroes, I initially thought, well, we saw Ego take Peter Quill from Missouri as a teenager or adult. In the episode with Black Panther with Star-Lord. So I thought I thought this was going to be an adult Peter Quill voiced by Chris Pratt, having been molded by that after having lost his mother and all that. Because all of the other things still happened to Peter Quill in that movie, in that episode of going through it. So I thought that's where we were going to start from. I was pleasantly surprised that's not where we started from. But I still kind of want some of those part 2s to some of those episodes we already saw.
Marvel Zombies, baby.
Yep, Marvel Zombies is getting its own standalone show at some point in some day in the distant future.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be this year, but unfortunately, strike. Which I'm surprised by because animated movies were allowed to be worked on. So I'm surprised.
Yeah, but a lot of the actors they're going to be using for that
were unavailable because they're using the Marvel Cinematic Universe voice actors, and those voice actors. Yep, I know. I'm just saying. I thought they would have at least gotten a little bit further ahead on the visual effects.
Yeah,
even if they had to wait for the voice acting.
True.
Anyways, any lasting thoughts as Peter Quill destroys his father? And then, of course, the obligatory Fast and the Furious family scene where we got the whole crew having dinner, drinking beer, light beer, apparently.
Mm-hmm. All I can say is
likes him some light beer, man.
I love that Peter Quill knows Kamehameha, baby. Just blue power light. Just fucking loved it. Just murdered his dad. No, I love the little scene of them all kind of getting together, and then we got the Flurgan. We got the Flurgan.
Yep, Goose. She tries to give Goose to Peter, which I thought was hysterical.
Oh my god!
Like, I'm more of a cat boy. I'm more of a cat kid.
I'm more of a dog guy.
And
then Hope's like, you don't say no when somebody gives you a free cat. So good.
But I love the idea that Peter Quill is going to now grow up living with Hope Van Dyne.
Yeah, is he the next Ant-Man? Like, is he like superpower Ant-Man? Like, it's again, I again, and then there's stories you could tell, and then at the end they all decided Thor's like, I'm gonna go fight the planet. Well, they're like, let's do this. Let's all go together. So it's like, I love it. It's the Avengers.
Yep. Yeah. They are now Earth's Mightiest Avengers, and there's so many good things. And like I said, that's where I love these What If episodes, but I get so irritated because there's so many good things that like Marvel has set themselves up that should they ever want to, they could literally stop making movies in the MCU and just make What If. But make What If like full-length feature movies that like do a long-term story.
Or just every season, continue an episode from the season before, still have 9 different goddamn stories, but you just continue the season before, and you tell us over the years all these stories in half an hour bits. That would be awesome.
And they're so fleshed out, like the worlds. You can flesh out these worlds where nothing has to be the same. Everything can be different. There are so many fantastic abilities of what they can do with these What If episodes.
Mm-hmm. And you can bring back Captain America early. You can unfreeze him in the 90s, and like in this world, you can unfreeze him in the 90s. Like, it'd be cool. And then Bucky and Cap are rocking together like from then on. Dude, that'd be awesome.
There's so many wonderful things that What If can do. And like I said, this was a really great episode of What If. However, the one thing I'm missing from What If this season that I really enjoyed with the first season is the wacky, wild bits of What If. So to refresh of what I mean by that, in the first episode of What If last year, it was basically a beat by beat retelling of Captain America: The First Avenger with Peggy Carter as Captain America. That was fine. I really liked that because it showed you can make one small change and the things can stay essentially the same. And then in episode 2, they were like, now we're going to show you how fucked up and wild we can get. And that was the episode where Black Panther is Star-Lord. And T'Challa, Star-Lord is well known everywhere. Everybody knows who he is. Jonathan Hanzu's his biggest fan. And he charmed Thanos. Like, the balls on that episode. And it feels like What If this season has been, I'll be honest, safe.
Well, and you look at it, it's literally outside of the first episode, which is directed by Stephen Frank. Or Frank, I don't know how to say it. It's all every episode is being written by Matthew Chauncey or AC Bradley or a combination of both in an episode. And then all the rest of the episodes, 2 through 9, are being directed by Brian Andrews. So being maybe it's a set writers and set director, we're going to get, and And I'm honestly okay. Like Happy Hogan Saves Christmas is next. That could be a fun, crazy Christmas story. You never know.
That's Die Hard. I guarantee that movie's going to be Die Hard.
And it's
Remember,
but he
movies. That's Die Hard.
And he's getting Iron Man tech to help him do shit. That is what I'm hoping for. I'm not putting too much on it.
The scene's already out there. There's already a scene of him getting beaten up by something inside the Hulkbuster armor.
Awesome! I can't. I'm avoiding spoilers on each of those episodes, so I'm excited. Because I think that's where we're gonna get our wackiness is in this episode. Is Happy Hogan doing some crazy shit with the Iron Man?
I don't know. We're just gonna go over right now. I'm gonna go over the names of the episodes, just the names. So, episode 4, releasing on Christmas Day, is What If Iron Man Crashed into the Grandmaster? So that's cool. That is the missing scene, the missing episode 10 from the original season of What If.
Oh,
this is the missing episode. So this is the episode where Gamora is the champion of Sakaar. She builds the Infinity Crusher. This is that episode.
Oh, I'm down.
Episode on Boxing Day, we're getting What If Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper. So we're getting Winter Soldier retold in that form as takeoff from where we left off last season.
Well, this is Captain Carter versus Steve because he's the Hydra Stomper.
Yes, but the Hydra Stomper is taking the role of Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
By Hydra for all the years, they found him on the ship. Yeah, it's essentially.
Yes.
Then we get the really wacky episode. I don't know what's going to happen because this is a character I've never heard of. And apparently could have been created.
This character I've been reading is completely MCU creation.
Yep. What if Kahori reshaped the world?
Yeah. So from what I hear, it's they get some kind of powers like back in Mesopotamia before America has never colonized kind of world. Like it's going to be interesting to see. It's just to tell an interest. That one's written by a guy named Ryan Little. So that's the deviation episode of all the writers.
Yeah. We then get the episode with the next 3 are the 3 episodes I can't wait for, though. These are my 3 favorite episodes of them all. What if Hela found the 10 rings? That's going to be that's where I think things could get real wacky. Hela with the 10 rings. However, we can't not talk about wacky and not talk about one of my favorite comic runs of all time, done by the man, the myth, the legend. Oh God, what was his name? He was the one that was in the episodes of Big Bang Theory.
Jim Lee? No. He's DC. Oh. Hold
on.
No, we suck. We are bad at our jobs.
Neil Gaiman. It's Neil Gaiman.
There you go.
I couldn't think of the name off the top of my head. It's Neil Gaiman. He writes this. It's the Avengers assembled in 1602.
Yeah, I can't wait.
The comic book, if you haven't read this, now granted, it's pretty simple basics. Everybody thinks they're witches.
Yeah, makes sense.
I love the idea that some of the fun stuff they can get into in 1602 as the Avengers. And then the season finishes out December 30th, next Saturday. What if Strange Supreme intervened? Intervened in what? Intervened where? I can't wait to find out.
Yeah, me too. Let's do it.
Remember, everybody, that we are going to be covering all of these episodes in a shorter form. Like I said, this has only been half an hour. We're going to be covering them in short form. Some days it'll be me by myself. Some days it'll be this guy by himself. Some days it'll be the both of us like we are tonight. Andre, where can the good people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at That Canada Guy, Instagram at That Canada Dude, and a bunch of other socials using one of those 2 handles. You can find me on YouTube at Andre Melba Wrestling Talk. Check me out over there. You can find me in audio format now over on SNME Radio. And me and Mel drop air big Japanese shows over there on SNME Radio. Coming up, we'll be having our year-end Stardom show talking Dream Queendom. That'll probably come out around the 30th, 31st. On January 1st, I have a very special episode of the show coming out. It'll be myself and Melball interviewing New Japan Pro Wrestling English commentator Walker Stewart. Please check that out. That'll be on video on my Mailball channel on the Mailball Russ Talk, and it'll be in audio format on SNME Radio. So please check that out. I'm super excited to do this. As long as everything works out, nothing implodes. I'm super excited to talk to this man. He just took over a couple months ago. He's super excited to talk some Japanese wrestling and talk about his time so far with New Japan and what's coming next. I can't wait. Please check that out.
And of course, you can find me here at our local establishment. You can find me on Twitter at edfries12584. You can find me on Twitch at edfries2002, where all my gaming and I simulcast all of the wonderful things I do here, whether it be Marvel Talk, whether it be taking over every Tuesday. Remember, Marvel Talk ain't going anywhere. We've got all these episodes of What If dropping YouTube exclusive on the YouTube channel, but we've got the episode we just did, the MCU Rebound with Iron Man for the 2008. I've just watched, and you know what? Thoroughly enjoyed The Incredible Hulk.
Not possible.
Thoroughly enjoyed The Incredible Hulk last night. So catch that MC Rebound in the new year. We've got Echo coming up in the new year. Got all kinds of fun stuff like that. But January 5th, the date has finally been confirmed. I am going to be having year-end awards episode 2. Our local establishment is having our second year-end award show where we don't cover one type of wrestling. We don't cover 2 types of wrestling, not 3, but 4. 4 brands are being talked about. WWE and NXT are being covered by yours truly here. Andre's co-host, Mel Collins herself, is going to be talking all things Japanese wrestling, New Japan and Stardom. She'll be covering both of those programs for the Japanese side. Bobby Money Munson is joining us this year as we've knocked Impact out and we've brought in MLW. So Bobby Munson will be talking all things MLW with that award show. And of course, we're going to have the one and only Lauren Goodnight is going to be jumping in and joining us to talk all things AEW. So definitely make sure you go ahead. So make sure you go ahead and join us for that one. It'll be a live show. 10 p.m. Eastern, January 5th. It is going to be an award show. We'll be talking male wrestler of the year, female wrestler of the year, show of the year, match of the year, and we will also be talking male and female superstar to watch in 2024. It's going to be a fun show. I can't wait to do it. I have been OLED Ed Fries. This has been Andre C. Remember that you can catch us tomorrow at some point in the evening. We will be dropping episode 3, Happy Hogan Saved Christmas? How's it going, guys? Goodbye.